So we are going to discuss about spontaneous bacterial peritonitis. Okay, so it should be suspected in patient with ascites and any of following. So what are the following? Temperature greater than 37.8, or abdominal pain or tenderness, change in mental status, and ascitic fluid PMN count is greater than 250. Okay, and in patients receiving non-selective beta blocker, we permanently discontinue the medication once SBP has developed. So let's write it down. In patient receiving non-selective beta blocker, we permanently discontinue beta blocker once SBP has developed. Why do we have to discontinue? Because non-selective beta blocker used in this setting has been associated with decreased transplant-free survival. Okay, and increased risk rates of hepatorenal syndrome, and more days of hospitalization compared to patients not receiving non-selective beta blockers, and more days of hospitalization compared with patients not receiving non-selective beta blockers. Okay, that's why we permanently discontinue this beta blocker once SBP has developed. Okay, and for patients with suspected SBP awaiting culture results, we suggest treatment with third generation cephalosporin like cefotaxime rather than narrower coverage. And antibiotics used for treatment of SBP should provide good coverage for the organisms commonly associated with SBP like E. coli, Klebsiella. Okay, and should achieve good ascitic fluid level. Cefotaxime provides appropriate microbial coverage and attains good ascitic fluid level. And ciprofloxacin is an alternative for patients who cannot tolerate cephalosporins. Okay, and the selection of antibiotics for SBP include consideration of local resistance pattern and recent antibiotic use. Like say, if fluoroquinolones should not be used in patients who has been receiving SBP prophylaxis with fluoroquinolones. Okay, and antibiotic therapy should be tailored once results of sensitivity testing are available. And we suggest treating most patients with SBP for 5 days. So we treat for 5 days. Okay, rather than longer course of therapy. So a longer course of therapy is appropriate for patients who grow an unusual organism like say Pseudomonas enterobacteriaceae, organism resistant to standard antibiotic therapy, or organism routinely associated with endocarditis like Staph aureus or Vridans group Streptococci. Okay, and in addition, a longer course of therapy is required for patients who fail to respond to therapy appropriately. Now, after 5 days of treatment, we reassess the patient, and treatment is discontinued if there is dramatic improvement. However, if fever or pain persists, paracentesis is repeated. So, paracentesis is repeated, and the decision to continue or discontinue the treatment is determined by PMN response. Like say, if PMN is less than 250, then treatment is stopped. If PMN is greater than pre-treatment value, a search for source of surgical infections is undertaken. Okay, and if PMN is elevated but less than pre-treatment value, antibiotics are continued for another 48 hours and paracentesis is repeated again. Okay, and renal failure develops in 30 to 40% of patients with SBP. You should note that, and it is a major cause of death. Renal failure, major cause of death, and the risk may be decreased with infusion of IV albumin. Okay, So albumin should be given if creatinine is greater than 1, BUN is greater than 30, or total bilirubin is greater than 4. And once renal failure has developed, treatment with combination of octreotide and midodrine may be helpful. And daily infusion of 25 gram of 25% albumin should also be given, okay, unless there is massive fluid overload. And SBP responds well to appropriate antibiotic treatment. However, patients who have liver disease severe enough to develop SBP have poor long-term prognosis. In hospital, non-infection related mortality may be as high as 20 to 40%, and 1 to 2 year mortality rates are approximately 70 and 80% respectively. And we recommend antibiotic prophylaxis for patients at high risk for developing SBP rather than waiting for SBP to develop to initiate antibiotic therapy. So in patients at high risk of developing SBP, antibiotic prophylaxis is associated with decreased risk of bacterial infection and mortality, okay. And we also suggest that antibiotic prophylaxis be continued daily rather than intermittently, okay. Doing so may decrease the risk of antibiotic resistance. And who are the patients that are at high risk of SBP? So let's find it out. So patients with cirrhosis and GI bleeding, and patients who have had one or more episodes of SBP, among whom recurrence of SBP within 1 year has been reported to as close to as 70%. That's why if patient has one or more episode of SBP, we give prophylaxis. And patients with cirrhosis and ascites, if ascitic fluid protein is less than 1.5 along with impaired renal function or liver failure, okay. So let's write it. Patients with cirrhosis and ascites, if ascitic fluid protein is less than 1.5 along with impaired renal function or liver failure. So impaired renal function is defined as creatinine greater than 1.2 and BUN greater than 25, okay, and serum sodium 130 or less, okay. And liver failure is defined as Child-Pugh score greater than 9, okay, and bilirubin 3 or more, okay. And for patients who require prophylaxis, we use antibiotic regimens that have been specifically studied for SBP prophylaxis whenever possible, okay. And another thing I forgot to tell you, that one patient that is at high risk of SBP is also patients with cirrhosis who are hospitalized for other reasons and have had ascitic protein concentration less than 1. So patients with cirrhosis who are hospitalized for other reasons and have an ascitic fluid protein concentration less than 1 gram per deciliter. So now let's return to what antibiotics we use for prophylaxis. So for patients with history of SBP, we use prolonged outpatient cotrimoxazole, and alternatives include ciprofloxacin or norfloxacin, okay. And we do not use weekly or 5 times per week dosing schedules. In patients with cirrhosis who are hospitalized for reasons other than SBP or GI bleeding and ascitic fluid protein concentration less than 1, we use cotrimoxazole with discontinuation of the drug at the time of discharge, okay. And alternatives include ciprofloxacin or norfloxacin. And in patients with advanced cirrhosis, Child-Pugh, let's say B or C, and GI bleeding, we use ceftriaxone 1 gram IV daily and switch to cotrimoxazole once bleeding has been controlled and patient is stable and eating, because it is oral. Okay, and these patients who have advanced cirrhosis and GI bleeding, they cannot take oral. That's why initially we give IV ceftriaxone and later switch to oral cotrimoxazole once bleeding has been controlled and patient is stable and eating. And alternatives for oral therapy include ciprofloxacin, norfloxacin. Okay, patients with child POG A class cirrhosis can be managed with norfloxacin, cotrimoxazole or ciprofloxacin. Okay, 7 days of total antibiotic treatment is given. So these are given for 7 days. Okay, so SBP is associated with high mortality and it is often associated with renal dysfunction. That's why we give IV albumin to decrease the incidence of renal failure and reduce mortality in patients with SBP. Okay, so that's about SBP. And one thing I'd like to discuss with you is about MELD score, model for end-stage liver disease. The MELD score includes bilirubin, these parameters, INR, creatinine, sodium, and it can be used to determine patient's 90-day survival. Patient's 90-day survival, and to calculate patient's priority on liver transplant list. Calculate patient's priority on liver transplant list. And patients with higher MELD score takes precedence should a suitable donor liver becomes available. Patients with higher MELD score takes precedence should a suitable donor liver becomes available. Okay, so MELD score includes bilirubin, INR, creatinine and sodium, and it is used to predict 90-day survival. Okay, and also it can be used to calculate patient's priority on liver transplant list. Okay, and patients with higher MELD score takes precedence should a suitable donor liver become available. So let's see what we have discussed so far. So we have discussed definition of SBP and what treatment we give, and then renal failure is a complications that can occur and it is a major cause of death, and whom to give prophylaxis for SBP. Okay, and afterwards we discussed what antibiotics we use for prophylaxis and about MELD score.